Good morning and welcome back to Morning Buzz. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm here with Jordan. Yesterday, we promised to dive into this fascinating trend that's been taking over my social feeds: micro habits. Jordan, I've been seeing these tiny habit challenges everywhere. And honestly, I was skeptical at first. Like, how is drinking one extra glass of water going to change my life? But it
That skepticism makes total sense, Alex. When I first started looking into the research on this, I had the same reaction. We're conditioned to think that meaningful change requires big, dramatic shifts. But the science behind micro habits is actually turning that assumption completely upside down.
Okay, so before we get into the research, because I know you've been geeking out over the studies, let me paint the picture of what I'm seeing out there. People are committing to doing one push up a day, reading one page of a book, meditating for literally 60 seconds. It sounds almost ridiculous when you say it out loud.
It does sound ridiculous, but that's exactly why it works. There's this concept in behavioral psychology called the minimum viable habit, and researchers have found that our brains actually resist big changes because they trigger what's called the amygdala hijack, which is actually our brain's alarm system goes off when we try to change too much too fast. So
Wait, so our brains are literally working against us when we try to make those big New Year's resolution style changes?
exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. When the change is so small that it seems almost trivial, we bypass that resistance entirely. Dr. BJ Fogg at Stanford has been studying this for years, and his research shows that tiny behaviors can actually rewire our neural pathways more effectively than large ones because they don't trigger our psychological defenses.
This is blowing my mind because I've always been that person who goes all in on everything. Like, if I'm going to start working out, I'm planning 2-hour gym sessions 6 days a week. And then I burn out after 2 weeks and feel terrible about myself.
Agreement. You're describing what researchers call the false hope syndrome. We overestimate our ability to change and underestimate how much our current habits control our daily lives. The average person makes about 35,000 decisions a day, but roughly 40% of our actions aren't actually decisions, they're habits running on autopilot.
That number is wild. So, when we're trying to change everything at once, we're basically fighting against this massive system that's already in place.
That's a perfect way to put it. But micro habits work with the system instead of against it. There's this concept called habit stacking, where you attach a tiny new behavior to something you already do automatically. So instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes, you might take 3 deep breaths right after you brush your teeth.
I love how practical that is. And I have to say, I've been experimenting with this myself over the past few weeks. I started doing just 5 jumping jacks every morning when I get out of bed. It sounds so silly, but I've actually stuck with it. And now I find myself wanting to do more.
Oh, that's the magic of what researchers call habit graduation. Once a behavior becomes automatic, which typically takes anywhere from 18 to 254 days, depending on the complexity, your brain starts craving more of that positive feeling. You're not forcing yourself to exercise, you're naturally expanding a habit that's already established.
The timing thing is fascinating too. I always heard it takes 21 days to form a habit, but that's not actually true, is it?
That 21-day myth comes from a misinterpretation of research from the 1960s. The actual science shows huge variation depending on the person and the habit. Simple habits like drinking a glass of water might stick in under 3 weeks, while complex behaviors like a full workout routine could take 8 months or more to become automatic.
Which is another reason why starting small makes so much sense. You're working with realistic timelines instead of setting yourself up for failure with arbitrary deadlines.
Exactly. And there's another counterintuitive finding that I think your listeners will find encouraging. The research shows that missing a day here and there doesn't actually derail habit formation as long as you get back to it quickly. We tend to have this all or nothing mentality, but habits are more resilient than we think.
That's such a relief to hear because I think perfectionism kills more good intentions than anything else. Speaking of good intentions, we're getting close to that back to school energy in September, even for those of us who aren't in school anymore. This seems like perfect timing to think about micro habits.
Absolutely. Late summer is actually an ideal time to start because you're not competing with the pressure and overwhelm of January resolutions. You can establish something small now and let it grow naturally as the year progresses.
For anyone listening who wants to try this, what would you say is the best place to start?
Pick something so easy you can't say no. If you want to read more, commit to one page. If you want to exercise, start with 1 minute. The key is making it ridiculously easy and tying it to something you already do every day. Success builds on success.
I love that approach. Tomorrow, we're switching gears completely and talking about something that's been on my mind lately: the psychology behind why we're all suddenly obsessed with true crime podcasts. Are we becoming more morbid as a society, or is there something deeper going on?
That's going to be a fascinating conversation. I've been looking into some research on this that I think will surprise people.
Perfect. Thanks for listening to Morning Buzz, everyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Have an amazing Tuesday.